Hello, I'm Bill Bailey, and this is eShed. Probably, the first thing I got involved was just when I was doing stand-up, and there was a stand-up show, and so I got asked to do like a 10-minute turn on it. It was the BBC One, I think, the stand-up show, and that was just through playing live. You know, somebody came along, saw me do a gig live, and then asked me to do a sort of turn on this show, and so that was the start of a long series of very similar kinds of shows, variety cabaret shows. And then I auditioned to be in the repertoire of a company that was doing the Channel 4 Sitcom Festival, and out of that came Black Books. So that was the sort of, and then just really, the opportunities came along, through. Then one of the Buzzcocks, Sean Hughes, stopped doing he gave up doing the team captaincy, so I asked me to do it. But I get pitched a lot of ideas, for different programs and documentaries. I was really interested in this Wild thing because I get, loads of things are very much like, here, get a celebrity to go into a jungle, and what they really want is to see you, losing it or something, or going into some meltdown, and I can't cope. And I just wasn't interested in that at all, because that's the kind of thing I do anyway. I just in my spare time. That's, you know what I mean. If I'm sort of, there's no need for that. I just wanted it to have actually some kind of practical, almost some partly educational, but not in a very preachy way. Just a way of showing what can be done and what does go on. I went to the local primary school not far from here, Cambridge, and then I went to school in Bath, and it was one of these sort of you had to kind of pass an exam to get in, and there was and then I did the junior school was in Bath, and then the seniors was up the road, and I got a place at London University, a joint degree course between Central School of Speech and Drama and Westfield College in London University to do English and Drama, and that was up to that point it was pretty conventional, and then I just gave up a bit, got distracted by performing. Really, so that was that was the end of that. No, I think just adapted really. I mean, I think for me it was a question of not really knowing what I wanted to do until I actually saw it, or I started to diverge from the what was going to be the conventional route of perhaps. Go to school, get a university, get a qualification, and then look for a job that was somehow matched those qualifications. And that didn't happen with me. When I was at university, I just thought, actually, there's something I want to be in control, I suppose, of my own destiny in a way, and actually write something, perform something which I'm going to be able to sustain me and interest me. And so it was probably meant that there was a lot of lean times in the early days, because there's not, when you're trying to start out on your own, it's quite difficult, but I remember seeing a gig. It was a stand-up gig in London, and it just seemed like it was like one of those moments. You have those sort of epiphany or whatever it is. Light bulb goes off, and you think, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. I think it's just the freedom of expression that you get with stand-up. It's one of the last bastions of free speech in a way in this country. You can just go out and say and do anything. Well, the music sections I have to rehearse just practically because, or musically, to make them make sense or work, you have to kind of figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to play it. And so I do tend to work those in, or try and rehearse them up at home, or I go and play in little clubs, just to get those pieces to be they're like the set pieces, if you like, in the show. But connecting those, I try not to make it too scripted or too polished. I'd rather it be quite loose, and I have a subject that I'm going to talk about, and I want something I want to say about it, but I don't quite know exactly how I'm going to say it, or that particular night. Well, I think what makes any comic has to find their own voice and their own style and how they perform, and that's what marks you out as your own original voice. You have to find it, and I've never been able to be too polished ever in a form of life. It's never really that organised. It's always going to be slightly on the hoof. But I kind of like that. I like it gives you also there's a kind of adrenaline that helps the comedy. In the moment, I'll think up an idea, and actually a lot of my material, half of my material I write on stage. Half of it gets written at home, and ideas, and trying to find subject matter that's interesting, or I think people would find interesting, or music sections that are the kind of punctuation marks between the sort of the longer sections. But half of it's written on stage. Half of the material, half of the lines and the routines get developed in the moment, so really, I do, when I do a tour, during the tour things will get written during the show.
So every show sort of
as hopefully every show will be different. It keeps moving on, and you sort of develop something. You maybe like polish up a bit of routine, or you maybe like ditch something, or and more a subject matter interests you more, and you think, well, this is actually more relevant now than this other subject I'm going to talk about. Like in the new show, I'm starting to do a show in November, and I've just become fascinated with power and not political power, but actual where we get our power from, electricity and gas and water and all the basics of life, and how little we know about them, and how little we know where they come from, and how that we've sort of in this kind of sleepwalked into this situation. We just accept where it comes from, and it'll always be there, and half of it's owned by foreign companies, and where does it come from? What are we going to do about it in the next 20 years? And that fascinates me, and I know whatever subject that I'm actually reading about will be in the show. That's the way I always work. Yeah, Bill, where do you see yourself going in the next few years? More comedy, or more film, or more TV, or more wildlife? Well, it's interesting, Bill, you asked that, because I'd like to do more things like this, wildlife programmes. I think that being in any sort of situation where you have, let's be honest, you have what is determined celebrity. I think so many people just squander it away on totally worthless things, but where you can use it for some good is actually bring focus to things that might not necessarily get that, and that's what I want to try and do. More programs like that, more animal conservation, wildlife programs, and just more tours. It depends what you want to do, really. I mean, if you want to, it depends what side of the camera you want to do, where you want to be. That's it. I think you have to decide that. Because it just make more use of your time. It's quite a tough one to decide, though. Whether you want to make films or be in them. Some people know that really early on. Some people have always wanted to make films. That's all they wanted to do, or they want to direct plays, or they wanted to, create things and do things, and then you can trace a route back to their childhood. And other people just want to perform. They want to just show off, like me. And so I think that's a key one. Just figure that out in your head, what you want to do, and then you just got to try and keep an open mind, travel and take the work where it comes and leads you. But don't give up too easy. That's the thing. A lot of people just they try something, they go, it doesn't work. They go, oh well, that's it. and I think there's so much more media now. There's so many more TV stations, so many more channels. It is a lot easier to get hold of equipment and gear and stuff and travel around and do things. Just make things. I think you just got to do things. You know, don't expect it to come along. Just do it. Hello, Internet.